Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue to take a look at the scenario where Rome and the Dutch allied after World War III. Yeah, it was a while. It's another Wixel scenario, like my last videos were just my Wixel because I wanted to look in. But lucky today we're going to do something different. We're going to finally continue this series, which was on hold for a while, but today we're going to do the coalition of the willing. So I haven't fully rewatched the last video yet, so I might get something wrong, but like the main members of the Coalition of the Willing are almost all the same of the original timeline: Carolina, Mexico, India, China, Tibet, Hibernia, South Africa. But we also got Rome and the Dutch this time, so yeah. So it's 10 members instead of the 8, and US never collapsed. So yeah, but let's see how it goes. We see that the 10 major members are already starting to have some. We see India. This is a kind of surprise attack, by the way. The ultimatum still gets declined. See that, but we see Indian troops quickly gaining the superiority over Eritrea. But here we also see Orange Afghanistan decide to back up India, China, Tibet, and join on the side of the coalition, which kind of screws everything up because the old empire didn't expect this. Now we see Indian troops helping also Afghanistan, which is gaining ground pretty quickly, and it's not really nice. So the peace treaty has remained not over yet. But we see that Greece and the Cretans are working together. Rome, Greece, and Crete are all working together. That's so crazy, I can't lie. But there is start to think these guys, they are forced to let the coalition pass. And yeah, it's not tough. But we see Crete surprisingly conquering Cyprus. Well, this is not the Crete only, it's like the entire coalition beating the old empire in a naval battle. We also see coalition troops landing in Egypt, and the old empire is already in trouble. They can't really have a win, they're kind of screwed. They managed to stop the coalition forces for now, like hold them, but it's not for how much can they last. Also, the Persian puppet state, yeah, they're starting to feel a little bit. Oh, also Tanzania decides to join the coalition. In the old empire, gold Ethiopia is kind of dead. Like they aren't there. Pretend they're. We see Indian troops quickly taking over because this thing has rebelled, has gained Persian. Now they want to be free Persia once again. And the old empire can't stop this because they didn't expect a rebellion. Yeah, the coalition gets handled pretty badly despite the bravery of fighting against a lot of the world. But we see that the entirety of Central Asia still isn't joining the coalition of the willing. Not yet. But we see the old empire still asking for some allies. We see them asking Rome won't switch sides. Farmers Union, they do not want to get crushed. Poland, neither. They're kind of far away now. But old Ukraine. Oh, old Ukraine. No, they don't. We see actually Caucasia starting to think to join on the side of the old empire. And they do. We see Caucasia helping, which leads to all Central Asia joining on the coalition of willing. Yeah, I said they weren't, but now they are. But now we see the old empire actually expecting this, and why are they going on Central Asia? Why? We see them trying to cross the Indian border, and somehow they manage to, but they get immediately pushed back. And yeah, we see Kazakh troops invading quickly into Caucasia, which was a bit prepared, but then all of the troops arrive. Russia will, of course, join on the side of the coalition for rivalry reasons, historic reasons. They joined the war. Finland was thinking about helping the old empire, but now they aren't. So yeah, it's not tough. We see Central Asia finally liberating this. We see Chinese, Indian reinforcements, all of that. The old empire doesn't really stand a chance. But now we see Orange Afghanistan reaching the Caspian Sea. Well, it's not only Afghanistan, it's all of the age, but yeah. And this is kind of scary because how did they do so well? Well, it's because they were still fighting. Brazil isn't doing anything. Morocco is kind of rebuilding right now. They're starting to do some. France is on the side of the coalition of the willing now. We see that they managed to land in the old empire. The the bloodiest, well, some of the bloodiest battles are starting, but for this they have to move some troops from Egypt, which isn't a wise move, and, and it's not really. So it's going to get much worse. India will actually see Tanzania kind of handing this front. The old empires all occupied by the way, and they're going through also South African troops. India, which has made a landing in Yemen. The old empire did not have naval superiority. They do not have naval superiority, while India has. So coalition has. This is the reason the imperial navy is kind of crashed. And they lose another battle in the Mediterranean, which leads to this getting liberated. And we see the coalition forces getting met up and they're getting ready for the final battle, I guess. But not really. We see India, more the coalition traveling to Persia, just starting to have free. They want to be free now, basically. Caucasia is helping, but just for bravery. Black Caucasia will join in, and really after this, they are forced to surrender because otherwise their country might not exist anymore. The old empire will decide to straight up annex almost all of the occupation zones in Asia. This is to fight better, which is not really because it makes the OE a bit unstable. And also the annex all of this. But they do not really make time because it's a rush, and India absolutely takes big advantage of this in doing this. And now the OE has lost a battle in Africa. Only in Asia, they're still standing, but for how much? They're arriving. All of the final troops, they're arriving. They're getting ready for. They're not going to. But Empire is getting a lot nationalistic. And they're still going to fight. In the final, they, they desperately try to push back India and Persia, which they actually kind of do, but they take a lot of losses and they do not count the coalition coming from the west, which is dead. Like they immediately they're even more dominant in the original timeline because Rome and the Dutch there and all of their allies. Yeah, Reformers Union is not that loyal anymore, I guess. But basically, we're fast forwarding a lot. Twin, no, India does not do that. But we see that the coalition is almost won. Really, they're almost won. The forces have already arrived in the capital. They're getting ready for the bloodiest battle of history. We see Azerbaijan locally declaring independence or still major autonomy from the old empire. But now we see India landing the final blow by taking Kuwait. And the end of the empire is there. Like it's there. It's almost over. So we see the capital gets taken, but they do not give up. Like they still fight. I'm still wish Azerbaijan actually surrendering to the coalition because they didn't yet. And then India just yeah. So we see that the coalition is over once and for all. The old empire won't be able to come back. They won't be able to ever try to do something similar like that again. They're banned from existing and they will not be allowed. And this time, they won't be nice to the Mesopotamian countries because we got the Dutch, which are kind of democratic, not really fascist, but they're still expansionist as hell. And also got Rome, which still is expansionist as hell. So they wouldn't be light. But let's take a look at the peace treaty and to finally officially end World War IV era. Okay, so this is the peace treaty, and yeah, I know. I'm going to explain the lore and why. Why did they do this? Why? Well, the reason they decided to treat Mesopotamia like this is because they do not want a Mesopotamian in order once again. They saw how it came back in World War IV and it kind of dominated the scene for a while. They decided to get rid of it. They forced all these countries to get in the US. And when they do the Mesopotamian Accord for the US too, and yeah, now they got all of the power to ban the old empire, but they do not want this thing to be united, so they decided to fracture it again. See, Egypt, Jordan, Arabia, yeah, they got weakened. Like they get small too. This we'll talk about this later. Tanzania got some land. It will also fix some of the African peace treaty, like Chad lost some land to Sudan, Egypt. This is occupied by the Dutch around the Suez Canal because they want the greedy land. They want greedy land. Yeah, we want land. Cyprus is also Roman because they want it. Crete is saying like when we got robbed. Now Crete hates Rome. Yeah. Syria is back. Palestine, Israel, no Jordan. These Arabian countries. Yemen has decided to be united since they were pretty good pals. It's such a good decision. Azerbaijan is free. Caspia is kind of back, I guess. Orange Afghanistan is big. Persia is split in two, but they're pretty okay. We'll see another Turkish country form. This is it, I think. Oh yeah, Ethiopia is now less occupied. You know the original timeline thing? The AN occupied this. But they're not going to occupy it because the US kind of works now. It's okay. So so yeah. We're going also to talk about the aftermath of this because the video is a little bit short. So we will go through and we will watch, take a look what will happen in some of the following years, like the post-war era, where every country is starting to rebuild, where things are starting to fall out, things are starting to get discovered, and yeah. But we'll talk about how the Security Council for the AN, well, the US, will get created. And this time, Rome and the Dutch are the first two, of course, because yeah, see, all of the main members of the coalition of the willing get promoted. So we have 10 main members instead of your normal 8, which might become, we'll see. But there's simply the main members like Carolina, Mexico, just all of that, but with Rome and the Dutch too. The AN is kind of gaining, the OS is kind of gaining popularity, but not really. Because, yeah, like some of the countries joined, also Caucasia got a little bit. Yeah, poor Caucasia. Russia has gained some land because they joined the coalition. Yeah, Caucasia left the squares to help the old empire, which is a real nice thing. But they got a little bit punished for doing that. So yeah, we say this. US is a little bit popular, but there's still some countries which decide to not join. But it's popular, like it's holding on now. It works. In the post-war, the Square Alliance still kind of works. Some of the Dutch can are still because they have a plan. Like they still know what to do, which is crazy. Greece will leave the squares because they're starting to have a different ideology. Ukraine is starting to have some things. So things are starting to happen. So we see, yeah, this happening. And this is not really tough. But many in following years, we see that the order to happen. Rome won't collapse because they're doing good. They're doing okay. They're doing way better. Carolina's left the squares because the age. You know what happens after World War IV? We have the elites. Yeah, we love the elites. We love money. We love selling weapons to both sides. Things get leaked. This time, it's not going to be a bipolar system. Whoa, 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 whoa. What was that? I was saying it was not going to be a bipolar system. It's going to be a tripolar because these two, they're starting to think we want to save Europe. Wants to save the world. Kind of the elites. They see themselves as the good guys, but actually, both Rome and the Dutch are kind of as elites. They have elites too. They're just the less elite filled country. Of the Square Alliance is kind of a defender of normal things. Yeah. But yeah, we'll just talk about the series in general. But basically, it was a while. It was a while since I recorded an episode and you guys saw that. It was kind because I don't know. I didn't make another one, but today I decided to finally end World War 4. And this series might even end soon. Like I promised I said I was going to make a collection of the winning and that's what I did. So that's a W for me. I don't know if we're going to continue this after all of this. Which could be interesting because of the tripolar league system. Now they could get involved, so it might be interesting. But yeah, I'm not really sure about. So tell me, guys, would you like to see this get continued, or would you like to end? because if you guys would like to end it, I will make one final video about some stuff. If you wanted to continue, I will continue this for a little bit. We could get all through the end of Wixel, even though we probably won't have like Atlantis, because we cannot do that on map chart. We cannot create the alternates, which can still arrive to the Earth but in a different manner. So yeah. See ya!